Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most confusing parts of buying a home in Pennsylvania, closing cost. And I've done a few other videos on closing costs at a very high level, and lately I've received some questions that told me this topic isn't really clear. I'll break down exactly what these costs include, who pays for what, and what you can do to estimate them before you even make an offer. So let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. Closing costs are all the fees and expenses beyond your down payment that come with finalizing your home purchase. These fees typically range between 3 and 6% of the purchase price here in Pennsylvania. Okay, so here's where the money goes. Let's break it down by category. Number 1, lender fees. These are the fees your mortgage lender charges to process your loan. They use names like origination fee, underwriting fee, processing fee. Those are the different ways your lender charges you a fee. There's always a credit report fee. I'd estimate that at about $50. And 9 times out of 10, there's an appraisal fee. And it average comes right in at about $500. That's what I see the most. In some cases, appraisals are waived, but don't count on that. Now, why is this important? This is important because not all lenders charge the same fees, so it's always smart to compare. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ask your lender for a buyer's estimated closing costs because although your agent, me, can prepare one, I don't know your lender's fees, but your lender does. Next, let's talk about title fees. In Pennsylvania, your title company handles a lot, from your title search to preparing your settlement document. They are a neutral third party. Typically, in most cases, the buyer gets to choose the title company, but not always. Here in Pennsylvania, the rates are set by the state, meaning they don't vary much between title companies. In other states like Texas and California, you can shop around for the best rates, not here. Another thing in Pennsylvania, real estate attorneys can be involved, but it's not mandatory. In states like New Jersey and New York, they require an attorney, and that can add additional fees. But those states often skip the title company fee. Okay, so you would be paying for an attorney, but you wouldn't need title. That is not the case in Pennsylvania. From title, you can expect to see fees like closing protection letters, deed preparation fees, title search and title insurance, wire fees, endorsement fees, courier fees. These can be a big chunk of your closing costs, sometimes several $1,000s. There are title calculators available online. Title is important because it ensures that you aren't purchasing the property with any old liens against it. Think pass-through taxes and mechanical liens. For example, say the current owner owes taxes to the government. The government will sometimes put liens on the owner's property to ensure they get paid if the owner tries to transfer title on that home. And title makes sure that that lien doesn't transfer to you. Also, when you buy from a sheriff's sale and auctions, a good question to ask is if the property will be conveyed with clean title. And if you're not sure, contact the title company and pay for a report before you make the purchase so you have all the facts before moving forward. I said all that to say, don't skip on title. Title insurance does the history on the property's title to verify any and all outstanding liens are paid before the deed is transferred to you. If you can't get clean title, you are not obligated to move forward. Next up are taxes and government fees. The biggest one here is the transfer tax. Here in the Lehigh Valley, the transfer tax is 2% of the purchase price, split between the buyer and the seller. So 1% for each on most sales. When people want to get around paying the transfer tax, sometimes you will see the property was sold for $1, especially when it's between family members. It's because they don't want their family member to have to pay the transfer tax to transfer the title from one to the other. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh both have their own fees, so definitely check the municipality that you are purchasing in the state of Pennsylvania. Continuing with taxes are prepaid items and escrows. Your lender might also collect money up front to fund your escrow account. Things like property taxes, homeowners insurance, and sometimes mortgage insurance. Think of this as prepaying those bills so your mortgage payments stay consistent. Your lender wants the insurance prepaid because, God forbid, in case of emergency and you miss a payment and something happens to the asset, it's protected because you've already prepaid. So you will come to closing with proof of insurance, and the lender will escrow for a few months as well. Same thing with the property taxes. If they're collected up front in your area, and most are here in the Valley, unless your home is purchased in cash. Otherwise, your lender escrows taxes so you have a few months in your in case of emergency bucket so that they have enough money to pay your taxes for you. Basically, the point of this is because at the beginning of every year, your lender pays your taxes upfront for you. And then as you pay your mortgage, your monthly payments, you refill the bucket throughout the year. And that cycle continues until you sell or pay off your mortgage. On the app I'm currently using to estimate closing costs, it is estimating 14 months of taxes and insurance. And you might think that that's a tad extreme, but it's always better to have more money on hand than less. But this is another reason why you want your lender to provide you an estimate of your closing costs as soon as possible so you know how much they will escrow. Fun fact, when you're the seller, the title company will send your mortgage lender your mortgage payoff. So your lender will send you back any monies they have remaining in your escrow buckets. Because remember, when you first purchased the house, they collected some escrow in taxes and insurance. And that check is always a nice surprise. So again, you're not just paying into these escrow buckets. You will get that money back when you sell or pay off the house. I know, it could be a while, right? Those are the major fees. There are also some miscellaneous fees you might also see. Some smaller charges like notary fees, flood certification, wire fees, or courier fees that cover the logistics of closing. As a rule of thumb for buyers using a lender, 3 days before closing, you'll receive a closing disclosure with your final exact breakdown of what you will need to bring to closing to purchase the home. In Pennsylvania, buyers typically pay the majority of closing costs, and sellers usually cover the real estate commissions and half the transfer tax. This was a major change in real estate last year. So all buyers have to be made aware that they are responsible for their realtor's commission. Fortunately, we are seeing that many sellers are still covering some, if not all, of the real estate commissions. Of course, all of this varies depending on your offer and your negotiation. Something that we didn't discuss is your down payment. The down payment is the portion of the home price you're paying up front. It's your immediate equity in the property from day one. And for conventional loans, that's as low as 3%, depending on your credit, your loan type, and whether you want to avoid private mortgage insurance. FHA loans allow as low as 3.5% down. VA and USDA loans can be 0 down if you qualify. But the closing costs, on the other hand, cover the fees to finalize the transaction. Things like insurance, transfer taxes, lender fees, and escrow prepaids. In Pennsylvania, again, these usually run about 3.5% to 6% of the purchase price. So even with a smaller down payment, closing costs can still add up. This is also helpful to understand for relocations because sometimes companies assist with the closing costs, not the down payment, because the down payment, again, is your equity. In Pennsylvania, once you sign the paperwork and the funds are dispersed, you're officially the new homeowner. Right then and there, you walk out of closing with the keys in hand, and the title company takes care of all the recordings behind the scenes. But in some states like California or New York, it can take a day or two longer since they wait until the deed is actually recorded before ownership officially transfers. So that's your full breakdown of Pennsylvania's closing costs. There's a down payment and the closing costs, which are the fees to finalize the transaction, which includes things like title insurance, transfer taxes, lender fees, and escrow prepaids. I do have a buyer's guide that gives you all this information along with even more about the home buying process here in Pennsylvania. If you want to email me, my email address is below the video and I am happy to send it to you. My name is Tiffany Nelson and I'm a realtor here in Allentown and the surrounding areas. If you or someone you know needs a realtor, I'd love to hear from you. For more information on closing costs and lender fees, check out one of these videos. I'll leave you a few options here or there. I'll leave it around. Thanks so much for watching. If you've ever looked on tax records and seen that a home was sold for $1, that's usually, oh no, that's this one that's coming up. Okay, sorry, I went too far.